So in recent years, the discussion about celebrities and politics has become a very hotbed issue, especially here in America. But what if I told you, going all the way back to the Bush administration, we were already having discussions about certain celebrities being pawns for presidential figures? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, because apparently there's a couple of conspiracies, one in which Britney Spears, who is not just a clone, was also a pawn of the Bush administration to drum up support for the war in Iraq, on top of the fact that Miley Cyrus was brought about to twerk on stage to distract from the fact that President Obama had just signed the NDAA into law. So, you know, presidents, politicians, celebrities, seems like stories as old as time now, right?
That just brings up the obvious question, which is which pop star has come up to succeed Miley Cyrus and distract from all of the injustices of the Biden administration?
And
who was the Trump administration pop star?
So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking who would it have been, right? But it's actually different now. They don't need regular celebrities anymore because they just hire influencers. They just have these influencers, and Twitter has replaced this, so they don't even have to hire them. They just get George Takei. I kid you not, I was looking at Threads. I have now looked at Threads twice in 1 week. I feel like the world is ending. Instagram Threads, and it's George Takei just says, I'm so grateful for Joe Biden, and then it doesn't offer any other explanation as to what the hell he means by that. You don't need to pay these guys anymore. You get Ted Lasso to go show up at the White House to talk about mental health.
Or you get Olivia Rodrigo, also a Disney alum, to go to the White House and tell all of Gen Z to roll up their sleeves and get the vax.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So I guess this starts with Britney getting cloned.
Yes, so her and not just her and Justin Timberlake.
So they were on a cruise one night in the car, got into a car accident, and according to these theorists, got into this horrible accident where Britney was decapitated instantly. At least she didn't suffer. She's dead. Justin Timberlake actually did survive with severe burns, so he's permanently disfigured, and he is somehow still in a coma.
No, I bet you know what it is. This article's not updated. He probably died during COVID.
Yeah, he contracted COVID while in a coma.
The hospitals were overwhelmed, and the TikTok nurses were dancing. They couldn't help him.
So her record label was forced to clone Britney Spears to continue making money off of her music career, so they claim. And this wasn't done with normal cloning. This is some other technology that we're not aware of in the public, where they essentially 3D printed her as another adult version of her, but they did multiple copies. So they have been rotating through a roster of different Britney Spears clones throughout her career, which would explain all of her ups and downs in her personal life. They're unpredictable clones. They have to get replaced when they misbehave.
Look, there was an episode of CSI Miami where a pop star who just is always drunk has a stand-in, like her stand-in does the shows for her because she's always got sunglasses on. So it's like, it's not a clone, you know, like world leaders have used doubles for as long as time has existed, right? So we've got Britney doubles, we've got clones. I still believe that the reason why she was supporting the Iraq war is why she probably ended up being part of that song Dance Until the World Ends, because she probably thought that we were going to end up with weapons of mass destruction and nukes and stuff like that.
Well, that's the second piece of the theory, is that she was a puppet for the Bush administration to bolster support for our invasion of Iraq.
Look,
and this is from a really old interview that she did. I presume it was the one that she did with Tucker Carlson, because that was the image that they used. It says she helped drum up support for the invasion of Iraq due to her huge popularity. When asked about the war, Britney said, "Honestly, I think we should trust our president in every decision that he makes, and we should just support that and be faithful to what happens." And when asked if she trusted George Bush, she responded, "Yes, I do."
Yes, I do.
And that just makes you nostalgic for a different time.
Guys, I'm a bit older than Mary here, and I had to explain to her that there was a time where the celebrities were used to drum up patriotic efforts. It was a thing, especially now we would call it patriotism. The government and the military industrial complex would call it the war effort, right? So there was a lot of support for the war, and there was a lot of Hollywood that pushed back on it as well. But it was a very mainstream thing to support it. Here's the thing, though. That still exists. It's just it's celebrities who supported Ukraine. Put the Ukraine flag in your bio now. Right? It's not about us going to Iraq. It's about us giving you gazillions of dollars.
Well, the meme is you're homesick for a world that never existed or something. You
were
rings
born into
true
a world that no longer
it was
exists.
a higher trust society, and you could just blindly trust authority, blindly trust the media and the government because you didn't have alternative sources to get further information about these things. And even if you were deceiving yourself, you at least didn't have to question everything and see the world collapsing around you.
Yeah, it's the meme. It's the picture of the young girl in a park, and the Twin Towers are behind her, and says, "You were born into a world that no longer exists." And I've reposted that several times because it really does ring unbelievably true to me. And there was just higher trust society. You had a blind support of the institutions which have been eroded over the last decade, especially the last decade. People don't have the trust anymore. And the average person doesn't look to a celebrity now for support in political causes, right? They look and they say dance monkey. That's what they don't want the celebrities to give them their politics.
Well, as I was growing up watching the Disney Channel, the political cause that they were used to promote is global warming, which is now called climate change. And in the late 2000s and early 2010s, it was not called that. But yeah, they got around and sang kumbaya about recycling and stuff like that.
Even that works better.
And Miley Cyrus was part of that.
Yeah.
So the second piece here of the theory is that Miley Cyrus was covering up for the Obama administration. And this is from Jonathan Davis, the frontman of Korn.
Yes, another blast
Which
from
is
the
so
past.
random.
From my childhood. He was on Alex Jones back in 2014.
Why him? I don't understand why this is an issue that is so close to his heart, but he clearly felt he needed to speak out.
He says, it seems really sad that everyone's so asleep and oblivious to the fact that the country uses the media to capture people's attention or take away from the fact that what's going on in the country, he said. It really freaked me out when the whole Miley Cyrus thing was going on. And when that went down, Barack passed the new law that he can imprison anyone he wants and he doesn't have to charge them. He can keep them as long as he wants. Yes, he's talking, of course, about the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And again, this was right before. So that was signed into law, 2012? This is just before, if I remember correctly, the NSA scandal and all of the wiretaps and all of that stuff.
But, so the whole Miley Cyrus thing, what is he referring to with the whole Miley Cyrus thing?
It would have to be. So what year was the Robin
Wrecking
Thicke?
Ball?
What year was the Robin Thicke performance?
That was the 2010 VMAs.
So
and that was shortly after she released Wrecking Ball, right?
So it kind of seems like he might have his time here a little
so
bit.
The media used her bad girl face as a distraction from government corruption. I guess that's what he's saying. I mean, maybe that's just an example that he threw out there, and really he means it's the big picture.
He's not wrong.
Celebrities, that's not even a conspiracy theory. Yes, celebrities and celebrity drama and all of that's used as a distraction, but also at the same time, celebrities are used as mouthpieces for different political causes. That's not really a conspiracy. That's just right in front of our faces.
Yes.
That's the truth. Not sure if Miley Cyrus would say she was in on it, though.
Yeah. She's like, where's my check? I didn't make any money off this. I'm trying to make some money off of this. But here's the thing. She doesn't have to be. What has to happen is what? Somebody who works for an administration, this is just me, this is my conspiracy brain, says, look, we want to push forward these stories. We need something big in the spotlight that pushes something as boring as the old National Defense Authorization Act to page 4 rather than page 1. They actually used to do this on the X-Files, where the the cigarette smoking man, when essentially he got to decide what happened in the world. There's I've talked a lot about a lot of these episodes where he was in, and so yes, it's conspiratorial and it's ridiculous, but it's not hard to believe that all of these, like the White House has a press secretary. The press secretary has contacts with people in media. The media has contacts with people in smaller firms, people that run individual newspapers at the local level. It's not hard to believe that at the very least at the national level, when you've got your CNN, your Fox News, your MSNBC, your Washington Times, your New York Post, all of these people are connected. They all talk in the same group chats. They're all part of the same, maybe they weren't group chatting
chats
back in 2014. They are. Mm-hmm. They're all part of the same group chats. They're all part of the same whisper networks. They all have access to one another. The same the same producer who essentially told that reporter on a hot mic that you can't run the Jeffrey Epstein story, and she's talking on a hot mic about how I had the story and they made me bury it. Am I supposed to believe that they're not just that they're only going to bury stories? They're not going to also push stories to then keep these other things out of the news? The average person isn't going to pay attention if they go into their car and their talk radio station's like, oh my God, Miley Cyrus is twerking on a guy at the stage. Oh my gosh, how the Rome has fallen. Things are going wrong, right? And your local newspapers talking about the Grammys and the Emmys and everything but what's actually important to society, which is why these topics matter to begin with. It's also interesting because just like the other stories that we've done this week regarding Katy Perry and John Benet Ramsey, and also Khloe Kardashian and Rob Kardashian, obviously being connected to O.J. Simpson, that these are all people, Miley Cyrus maybe less so than Britney Spears, but Britney Spears is someone who was a moment in time for this country. She was the definition of a mega pop star and transcends her generation now for many, many people. So the stories that seem to make it easy for people to latch onto as far as conspiracies are these ones that are kind of omnipresent in the culture. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.